Don't wait till the battle's over. Don't wait till the struggle ends. Shout now, shout now, right now. Shout now, shout now. Don't wait till you make it.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Phillip, and welcome to the Phillip Show. I hope everybody is doing well. I'm going to grab my tea. I normally drink coffee, but since it's a little bit later in the day, I'm going to drink some tea. Do I know what it is? No. But I hope you guys are doing great. So listen, I'm not going to put myself in the way. We have some great things to talk about today. And one of the things that is going to be the theme of this show is art. And as we continue to move forward with all of our guests, you know, the platform of this is to really get to authenticity and how that helps us to frame our future, helps us to understand who we are, and some of the things of our past to help shape us into the people that we've become. So we're going to dive in today and talk to an amazing entrepreneur and gallery owner about how art impacts our lives. All right, so let's jump right into it. I'm going to introduce to you Edward A. Dixon. And Edward A. Dixon is he has a gallery, and it's a commercial art gallery, and it specializes in the exhibition, education, appreciation, and sale of international fine art. Art in the gallery can range from modern, contemporary, experimental, temporary, that means it's not going to be there long, so you better hurry up and get it. Temporary, and any yet to be named category of art. Local art is often featured by the gallery, and it exhibits artwork from artists from all over the world, including Germany, Nigeria, Liberia, and the Philippines, including even more. So I'm excited to welcome him to our show and to jump in and see how art really changed his life and what his vision for art is and how he interprets the people that he represents in his gallery. So join me in welcoming Mr. Ed, I'm gonna call him Ed, Mr. Ed Dixon. Ed, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. So art, huh? Tell us about that.
About art. So I've had this art gallery for going on 4 years now.
Okay.
It's something that's it's become somewhat of a passion. It was a hobby. I've always been involved in different creative areas. I was part of a record label. I've done some things in fashion. I've written screenplays, never had one turned into a movie yet, but I've been, worked around the film. But, the last 4 to 5 years, art has taken center stage, and that's where I'm at now.
So you're just creative, just to kind of bottom line that. You're just a creative individual.
Yeah, I'm somewhat creative, but on top of that, I think what I enjoy more is helping those that I think are even more creative, or the experts, or that, kind of eat, breathe, and sleep these different, whatever genre it is that I'm working in. But these people that are really, love with it, can't live without it. I really want to see those people shine, get their work out there. And, that's what really motivates me.
So going from being a writer, as well as working in the entertainment and music industry, how did you segue, and why did you segue into becoming somebody that represents other people's art? Why art?
Yeah, art was always there, but like I said, I did those different things. Always doing other little business things on the side, and there was a point where I wanted to have an office, and at the same time showcase art that I'd already collected. But that really grew, and it grew quickly into not just having showing my art, but now want to show art of others, because I also saw that there was kind of there is a void. Not because, there are plenty of art galleries in the greater Dayton area in Ohio, but there are so many talented artists out there that there just are not enough art gallery places for these people to show their work. So I always visit museums and galleries when I travel, when I go to New York, especially, but DC and LA. And I wanted to bring something like that to the Dayton area. So when I opened the initial location, that was my goal, was to kind of bring that ambiance of the feel of that gallery, something that I didn't really see here. I want to bring that here, and then also again have that home for more artists to be able to get their work out.
Sure. Now, you said you said a former location. Is this your second location?
Yeah, right after we had the first shutdown order, when Ohio had their first shutdown order, I was in the midst of negotiating my lease and all these different things, and with the shutdown order and all these other things going on, it made sense for me to move to a smaller location with where I'm at now. I'm right down the street from a prior location, but in a smaller space. So it's a little different than it was, but I can't do all the events and different things I used to do at the larger gallery, even if I had the space because of COVID. So, during this time I'll be in this space, and then I'll probably move at some point, when things hopefully return to normal, maybe later this year, next year, and then
Yeah.
I can go back to having the big opening receptions with lots of folks, and, the wine and cheese and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're hoping for those days.
All right.
I know that I came across some of your work. I live in Yellow Springs, and I was in one of my favorite spots, which is Rose and Sal's.
Hmm.
And I was in there speaking to Susan, who manages it, and she introduced me to your work, and I just thought it was really incredible. And we're going to get into how you choose or how you select the art pieces that you represent in your gallery. But when you decided to go into representing art and owning the gallery, what's the official word for that?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, it's the representation. I am a gallerist, is what I call myself.
A
So
gallerist.
I'm a gallerist and a curator. So,
Okay.
because I choose all the art and the artists that go into the gallery.
Now, in excuse me, in that, how does that play a role in kind of your mental process? And like, do you see yourself or your journey or some things in your own life when you start selecting? Do they speak to you that way?
It choosing the art has really just been an organic process, truly, because there's artists that I've met, and it took 2 years before. I knew initially that I wanted to show their art, but it took 2 years, their timing, my timing, the type of art I wanted to show at the time, for all those things to come together. So, uh, now, in general, I'm old school. I love the masters, the old European style art. That's the type of art you'll see me, especially when I first opened the gallery. That's what the gallery was filled with, that type of art. Kind of changed and allowed myself to put more styles of art to the gallery. I had in the beginning, I had the abstracts, portraits, all different type of work. But now, really to your point, I'm kind of moving more towards art that has a little bit more meaning to it, art that uh, tells a story. Uh,
Okay.
so art, the art will always be the art that I carry will always be, I think, commercial art that you may want in your living room, want in your office, but there still will be probably some type of meaning, something a little deeper to it that the artist was putting into that work. And there'll be those figures, there'll be those landscapes, those familiar objects and scenery in most of the work that I carry.
Got you. Now when you look at it, now I know that you're talking about landscape and different art pieces that way. But when you're looking for something that actually has meaning or tells a story, you referenced kind of relevant times now. Do you look for things that have social relevance?
I do, and I also have an exhibition in May that specifically is
Mm,
addressing that. There's a project I started called "We're Doing It All Wrong,"
Yeah.
and that's the theme of the exhibition in May. And so all of the artwork that will be in that show will speak to some social, cultural type issue uh, that's relevant today. Because every piece that I have in that show, I asked that the art have even that it was created within the years 2020 and 2021. So at least
Mm.
whatever that art was in that art is informed by the current time. So even it may not specifically be something that started in 2020 or 2021, but
Yeah.
that artist will still have been affected by things that have happened in these last couple of years, whether it was coronavirus or anything else happening around the world.
Wow. Yeah. It's very, so in this particular aspect of it, and this, the show that you're going to have coming up is very intentional.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, geared towards that social aspect, and really something hopefully that starts conversation. Those type of pieces that when you look at it may bring up some feelings that you already had, may
Mm.
educate you or give you a perspective that you never thought of, and in best case may get someone to act or go out and either speak up or volunteer, or something that contribute, I guess, to the greater good in some way. So that would be one of the loftier goals of the exhibition.
So before I ask the next question, so you have all of these skills and these talents and all of these careers generally. What did you study? Um, how did you get from what you studied to where you are now?
Computer science is what I studied.
Get out of here!
so
What?
but I found out that I didn't want to spend days on end forgetting what time it is, what day it is, dealing with some code, or even though it was something I enjoyed to a degree, something that I was good at. But yeah, it was just I would get lost in it. It was just too much. I really lost too many hours and too many days, and I said, no, this is not where I want to spend my time. And I found that the creative side, that was the ones and zeros. I found that the creative side was, something that I really had the passion for. I was good at the computer science part, and of course, to this day, when somebody has a computer problem, they're still calling. But the creative side is what I have the passion for sure.
That's awesome. So how did you? That's a very deep point right there, and that's very pivotal in a lot of people's lives to do something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
computer science, that pays a lot of money, right? Programmers.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I hate coding. I do computers and I do marketing, and coding. No,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I might as well just do somebody's taxes. I just don't like it. But
Yeah.
that point where you get to where you say, okay, do I want to do this because it might not be comfortable because it's not your passion, but it's something that's going to pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. Or do I know that I have a passion to be more creative? How did you make that decision to say, this isn't really what I want and I want to go down this direction? And was it an easy one?
Um, it wasn't an easy one because, like you said, I mean, you stay in computer science, you're going to come out with a pretty well-paying job at some point. So there's that kind of
At some point.
comfortability there, security, I guess you call it there. But yeah, at some point, and couldn't pinpoint it, but at some point, the creative side just said, I know money's important, but happiness or whatever you want to call it, is going to trump that, in the end. You really have to find something that's your passion,
Mm.
especially at this point. I'm glad of the decisions to do the art gallery. It was one of those things where I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to, I could come up with a million reasons why I should, but I'm just going to do it because it is something that I want to do. I'm just going to make it happen. I'm not going to do the pros and cons board kind of thing. This is something that I want to do. Let me make it happen and just see what goes from there.
Wow, I think that's brave and that's huge. Because sometimes following your passion really takes courage. It takes courage. It gets into that field of the unknown. But once you have that, once you kind of grit down and get into it, it's a lot of times the most rewarding thing that you'll do, you know?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so are you from the Dayton area?
I'm from Dayton. I lived in Dayton most of my life. I lived in Northern Virginia, outside of DC, for a few years. I went to school in Norman, Mississippi, for a couple of years, and lived in Columbus for a few years. So I did that little bit of bouncing around, but eventually made my way back to Dayton, and then here for the last 10, 12 years, I guess.
Oh, wow. Now, I know that you have work in your gallery that's from all over the world. And I know that in Dayton, there's some pretty huge art places. The Afro-American Museum is here.
Mm-hmm.
And even just in Dayton in particular, that's the Wilberforce Xenia area, but even in Dayton in particular, do you find that you get a lot of submissions or interest from Dayton or local artists?
Yeah, generally I get lots of submissions, emails, people stopping in from the local area. That's been something ever since I started. So um, I really haven't had to look for artists, so much, there's always, like I said, again, there's plenty of artists out there that are unrepresented, need to get their art out there. So that hasn't been a problem. But at the same time, especially because of social media, I've been in contacted with people from around the U.S., but then also from other countries as well. So
Wow.
I'm actually still surprised about that sometimes, of the interest that comes from outside the state, outside the country, to the gallery. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So when you partner with somebody, an artist, and you find some sort of value in their work, or it speaks to you, and you say, "Yes, I would like to represent this in my gallery." How do you go about evaluating the value of the painting? Do you do that, or do they do that?
For the most part, they do that. For the most part, but at that point, I've already seen the value myself. So, and they usually are probably in the same place that I am. But what I do find, and what I've had to do a couple times though, is kind of prop artists up a little bit more and say, no, your work is really excellent.
Okay.
The time you put into it, there all these different things, and you're really lowballing yourself.
So they're not asking what they're worth.
Yeah, and I'm trying, and that's what I've done from the beginning, is try to get people to where, and I'm really stubborn with that because you can put a price tag on a piece of art and sell it, and I'm not really for selling it either. I would rather hold on to a piece for longer and get what it's worth than sell it quickly, just to hurry up and make a few dollars and move on to the next. Again, I'm much more interested in getting artists out there and definitely having their work, and not necessarily, it's not all about the money, just appreciate, whatever form that is. Sometimes it is through the sale, but really having that artist work appreciated, even with comments online. I always share when somebody comes in and loves their work. Maybe they're not ready for their work, they can't afford it, or whatever it is, but they love that piece. I always want to share that with the artist so they understand, the value of their piece and what it means to, the general public and even specific people that have used the artwork.
I would imagine that a lot of artists, because they do put a lot of time and because it is their passion, the value that you give back to them and encourage them with, and what you see probably helps them to understand a little bit more of their self-worth too, because a lot of it's like intertwined. A lot of it can often be. Do you find that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Again, I very rarely have an artist that I think exceeds, as far as a price point or anything like that, have exceeded what I thought, their art was worth. Usually it's the lower end, and I'm trying to bring them up. It's never, oh, your artwork is way overpriced, type
Mm.
of thing. You need to cut that in half. Yeah, I haven't run into that yet. So,
See, that's really good because, a lot of times people won't say, you won't get that kind of feedback.
mm,
You're like, okay, well, you can price it there if you want to. And a lot of times people will go with the easy sale, like you were saying. Well, let's bring it down. Some people, the demographic and,
mm,
the clientele, they might not buy it for that price. But it's nice to see somebody push the value envelope. It's like, no, it's actually valued a lot more. And we're going to stick to that, because that's the
right,
integrity
right,
that's the integrity of your brand,
mm,
that's your
right,
brand. Yeah.
right.
What sets your gallery what would set your gallery apart from other art galleries?
I don't know. I guess some of it is just partly the informal nature of it, which I always tell people. Uh, sometimes people, as viewers, they come in or they think that since they don't have all this background or education about art, that their opinion is not as valued as the next person. Well,
Mm,
as far as I'm concerned, each individual's opinion is valued just as much as the other. You know, uh, just like with the artist, I'm telling the folks to come in. I always harp on that. Your eye is just as important as the next person, and what you see and what you like about that art is all that matters. Somebody else is going to see something different. Somebody with a lot of training they're really going to break it down and be able to pull layers out of it and give a nice
mm,
description of that piece. But the key thing is, if you walk in front of that piece and you like it or don't like it, or especially if you love it, that's all that matters. Nobody else has to agree with it. If you love that piece and you can't really put your thumb on it, what it is about it, you
yeah.
can't necessarily articulate it, that's fine. As long as that piece makes you feel, some kind of way, you can enjoy
Mm,
it, you come in and look at it or purchase it and put it on your wall at home so you can look at it every day.
yeah. Now, do you get a lot of, is it more personal clients or do you get a lot of corporate?
Definitely more personal, individual, uh, I would say for sure. And don't get me wrong, I would corporate clients are fine, but I do enjoy the experience of dealing with the individual, seeing how they enjoy a piece. Where a corporate buyer is going to have a different, you know, uh, end, for the end result of the piece is going to, want something in your building, make a statement, or something
Mm,
that just matches color schemes, or that kind of thing. So I like to deal with individuals that, because some people, I mean, they really fall in love with pieces, and it's fun to watch when
yeah.
people fall in love with a piece. Uh, that's again the kind of thing that makes me want to come in every day and keep doing this. It's just, those moments, like I said, it's not really necessarily the sale, it's that connection that people are having with that really fun.
Wow. And I know we talked earlier about how art plays, or you look for art with stories, and we were talking about the current climate, and some of that with the show that you have coming up. And I just really love that because that's a part of a journey. That's a part of all of our journey. Whatever's on that art, we've all experienced
Right.
coming
Hmm.
through. Some of that. So if you were to, because I'm sure that there are going to be some people here, not only that would be interested in art, but kind of connect to the way that you went from doing one thing to understanding what your passion was and being bold enough to kind of step out and say, this is what I want to do. So if you could give somebody some advice who may be watching right now, who might be kind of trying to figure it out and trying to see what to do, what advice would you give somebody that was trying to make the decision? I'm trying to find out, what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is, I'm sure people hear all the time, is sometimes you just have to get out there and do it. And you can
Yeah.
plan, which is important. You want to plan and have strategy and even contingency plans and all those things. Those are all important and good to have. But at some point, you have to get out there and do it. So that's the number one thing, because you may fail, you'll learn some things, but if you don't get out there and do it, obviously nothing's going to happen. But if you can try to build a support system behind you before you step out. I know that's not always possible. I think I had that pretty well laid out before I did the art gallery and the other things I've done. Like I said, I'm always doing many things. Even when I'm doing the art gallery, I was involved in a restaurant franchise. I have a realtor's license.
Good,
and,
nice.
So I have a lot of different things, going on at the same time. But a support system of both people and money, really helps. Because of course, obviously, if you fall, you have something to fall back on. But that first piece of advice is to get out there. That's really number one, and that's what's going to make it changes to not just yourself, but to society when people get out there and follow their passion, as opposed to kind of just following the tradition or the what's normal or what you're supposed to do kind of thing. So sometimes you just have to get out there and do it, see what happens.
That's some simple and profound advice. Get out there and do it. And I think it's the do it part that people always have trouble with.
Yeah.
But just get out there and do it. Well, I appreciate you coming. So I put it on the screen, but tell us where we can find your gallery.
Okay. I'm in downtown Dayton. I'm inside the Talbot Tower, and I'm located at 118 West First Street, and it's Suite 11.
Okay, Suite 11.
Yeah.
Okay, and Suite 11. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your many entrepreneur hats to come share with us and give us all of that information, and just show us how it is possible to follow your passion and just find that place where what you do matters and it has a voice. And I appreciate that.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So everybody, that was Ed Dixon with his gallery. It is so phenomenal to hear people who have a passion and who jumped out the boat and said, I'm going to do it because that is where my life is leading me. That's where my journey is leading me. And I know that some of you may have questions too. You have all of his contact information. It'll also be in the description. And you can also go to philliporourke.com. Ask me any questions that you need. If you'd like to be a guest on our show to share your inspiring story, please just reach out. We would love to have you. Be proud, be bold, be you. And just remember that you are the best you in the world. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Don't